you.
Wow. Well, we've been married for 39 years. And by the way, we tell our audiences all the time, we think we're just beginning to figure this marriage thing out,
And so for how many of the 39 have you been happily married?
I don't know. Day isn't over yet, so we'll have to figure this one. We want our audience to know we have had our difficulties. Yes. And given them whatever moment is, we can still have difficulties, but we know why we have them and we know what to do about it now. So it's a very, very different story than it used to be.
You mean our spouse didn't do this to us?
Yeah.
No. Although I do want to blame on Ron.
But I thought I was fine until I got married.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we all think.
I thought marriage was going to bring out the best in me. Turns out it actually brought out some of the worst in me.
That little trigger
World War III
would have been World War III for 2 weeks. And I don't know that we would have resolved it. We would have finally given up on it and
swept it up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have clung to him more and not picked up that shield and that sword myself and tried to defend everything and tried to understand everything. I wish I would have surrendered every day like I'm trying to do now. But I am now. And I feel that peace that surpasses all understanding now. And no, it's not easy.
It took us a lot of work because we were a mess. Other people are going, we're pretty happy with each other. This is going to help you go from good to great. I mean, and it won't be nearly as arduous as it is for somebody like us.
And we talked about it, and he was like, "Oh, I can see that." And then he said these beautiful words, "I own that. I did that to you.
I owned it. I brought her pain."
And I was like,
during seasons of our life where I just basically emotionally abandoned her because I had ministry to do, which is so ironic.
Yeah, well, kia ora. It's another Family Life New Zealand podcast episode coming to you from the Family Life Today studio in Orlando. And so I'm actually out in Orlando this week, and I thought I was going to have the privilege of interviewing Ron and Nan in the studio on their home turf, but their home turf is actually in Little Rock. So we still have this privilege of talking to Ron and Nan Deal today. And I'm just so excited because later this year, in September, they are actually coming to New Zealand to come and bless marriages, to actually speak into this whole idea of the power of just slowing down in our marriage, the power of coming to grips with our own brokenness and then allowing the power of the Holy Spirit to heal us in our marriage. And Ron, for some of you, might also be known as the blended guy, and that's because Ron Deal has been a prolific author, have written so much content that have helped many blended families and many more. But their most recent book, which is the one we'll be talking about today, is called The Mindful Marriage. And this is a book I'm really excited about. I'll dig into a little bit more why I'm excited about this book, but let me welcome to the discussion today, Ron and Nan Deal. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vena. We are so glad to be with you today.
Welcome to Orlando, to the United States.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to coming to your great country.
It'll be our second time. We're so
we
excited.
Absolutely loved our first visit to New Zealand a number of years ago and can't wait to get back.
Can't wait.
Well, that is really exciting. The land of the long white cloud is looking forward to receiving you. And, this is actually going to be somewhat of a historic moment because, I was so encouraged. We've been talking for about 3 years now about getting you out to New Zealand. And last year when you said, okay, here's the dates for next year that we can do it, it actually happened to fall on the week that we have chosen to celebrate Marriage Week New Zealand. Yeah. And this is sort of a thing in the Northern Hemisphere of the world. They do it around February, Marriage Week, an opportunity to celebrate the value of marriage and also just celebrate this idea that if we want a healthy marriage, we need to invest in it. And then in the Southern Hemisphere, September is actually a good time to do that because that's spring for us, of course. And so we're so excited that you get to tour New Zealand. We're going all the way down to Dunedin starting with the Mindful Marriage Conference, and then you'll end in Auckland with the Marriage on Mission Conference and have a bunch of stops in the middle. So that's exciting, and information on that will be on our website soon. But today, we want to chat about the book that you guys worked on together, and also, more importantly, like speak on together. But before we jump into the book, tell me just a little bit about, just a bit about yourselves. And Ron, I'll get you to go first, and then Nan, I want you to really touch on the part in the journey, in Ron's journey, when you started to actually speak alongside him, and what's that meant for you guys.
Wow. Well, we've been married for 39 years. And by the way, we tell our audiences all the time, we think we're just beginning to figure this marriage thing out, And
so for how many of the 39 have you been happily married?
I don't know. Day isn't over yet, so we'll have to figure this one. We want our audience to know we have had our difficulties. Yes. And given them, whatever moment is, we can still have difficulties, but we know why we have them, and we know what to do about it now. So it's a very, very different story than it used to be. Yeah. Page 1, chapter 1 of our book is about the day our marriage blew up. We want everybody to know we're not perfect. We're coming in our imperfection to try to help people figure that out. So we've been married 39 years.
We've grown up together.
I saw her in 7th grade down the hall opening her locker and thought, wow, I need to get to know her. We have known each other a really long time. We were friends before we started dating. Like I said, been together 39. We have 3 boys. We have 1 grandson, and we have
an amazing daughter-in-law.
We do have an amazing daughter-in-law. Grandson is absolutely delicious. I mean, we just love that little guy more than anything.
We could spend the tour just talking about him.
That's right. We should. Let's make it the grandparent tour.
There you go.
Okay. So
the grandparent tour. Come on.
We've been in marriage and family ministry and around different sorts of at church work and ministry and nonprofit for 37 of our 39 years. We've been at it a long time. It is a joy to partner with friends, and you are a friend, and what you guys are doing down there in New Zealand excites us.
I've always supported Ron in his ministry when he was a youth minister. And then when he went back to graduate school to get his graduate degree, I was working 3 jobs to put him through that. And I watched him come out of that an amazing therapist. And then to see him wrestle with the step family aspect of it, because we are not a blended family, but the Lord just kept opening doors. And so it's been a real journey to watch all the different ministries that I have prayerfully and supported him in a lot of ways. But now that we're doing this together, I really, truly am embracing that part of me. I am a teacher by trade. Early childhood education. I love an audience of 5 and 6-year-olds. So adults, it's really intimidating to me, but I feel like for the first time in my life, I'm really embracing my identity and what God is doing in me and what he has healed in me. So like with grief, the loss of our son Connor, I didn't want that as one of my titles. And now I'm like, but I'm the only one that can speak into that for other parents. So God equipped me. And it's like with this book, 2 other authors on this book, the Hargraves, both are therapists. Ron's a therapist. And then there's little old me. But I feel like God is saying, but I need little old you, because you're the one that wanted to put the cookies on the bottom shelf for all the regular people. And so I feel empowered to say, you don't have to have a counseling degree to make your marriage great, and to see what God has for you and your healing and in the broken places of your life. So I feel like I know where my lane is. I know where our lane is together now. And it really, really is a sweet season. Not, like Ron said, not to say like we have it all together, because we put this book into practice every day.
Every single day.
Every day. Especially when we're dysregulated.
Well, I just want to say, I get the sense, Nan, that you're the reluctant speaker.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
But I just want to say thank you. Thank you for showing up. And, I do think that, and that's my wife, Al Ray, by the way. She has bravely stood on the Weekend Remember stage with me, and everybody loved her.
Right.
I'm like, she makes me look better, and she does not enjoy that space. And, we've given her some time to step back from that, in this phase of motherhood. But she honestly makes me better, even though that's probably the last place she would be found is on a stage. And so I just want to say we enjoy hearing you, Nan, speak alongside Ron. And, thank you for yielding to that idea. Thank you for your yes. That's awesome.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Look, I have enjoyed. I listen to a lot of books. Doesn't sound like a common thing to say, but that's how I consume most of my books. As a dad of young children and often busy in that sense, and I have so enjoyed the mindful marriage because a bit of my background is in the whole life and executive coaching thing. Very much interested in the brain and how people learn, and I'm always thinking, how can we capture a truth in a way that would help people digest it and be transformed by it? And what I experienced, or what I thought as I was listening, I listened to books on Audible. So what I was thinking is, this feels like I'm being a fly on the wall in a therapy room. And this feels like you're almost stepping me through a therapeutic process. And I thought, this is gold. This is so valuable. And it's one of those things that you can take this resource and really apply. And so I want you to actually unpack some of these keys. I mean, we're going to have the book available for people to read more about that. But I want you to unpack some of the keys. So we'll sort of start at the high level. Tell us why the mindful marriage, and then maybe we're going to dip into one or two things there that really highlight your story. And we'll take it, see where that leads us.
Well, let me just key off of what you just said. That's actually a very astute observation, Vinod, about this book. Nan and I are so high on this information. Let me just set the context for your listener or viewer. Our co-author, she mentioned Dr. Terry Hargrave and his wife Sharon. He was our counselor in 2007 when our marriage blew up. We are the living example in this book of how to do it wrong and how to find your way back. Okay? We're teaching their principles that they have developed over time. And it just turns out that our counselor happened to be, I think, one of the most underrated theoreticians in Christian marriage and family in the world. And he was developing this model. It is now practiced worldwide. This is the first book that is bringing it to a mass audience. It has been used in the therapeutic community for years, but now regular folk, as Nan said, are learning about it, and we're making it accessible through this book, The Mindful Marriage. So you are sitting through a counseling. You are getting about 30 years of neuroscience, attachment science, and biblical New Testament theology wrapped into a extremely practical process that helps us grow up into Jesus so we can be better partners for one another. At the end of the day, we are helping people mature as believers and mature as lovers. And we have experienced it for ourselves and are now sharing it with others. So that's why we brag on this. It's not our genius, it's theirs, and we know it works. All right? So with that, let me just say, I've always felt like in ministry there's been a gap between what we know and how we live. I mean, any Christian who's honest knows that every Sunday you get a really good sermon and your daily Bible reading, if you do that, you pick up the scriptures and you read and you go, wow, that's pretty good. I should work on that. And somewhere between the sermon on Sunday and Monday morning, we lose what we know and we don't really live it out. I've always felt like there was a gap there. This material helps us move through the gap. It is so well put together that you go from knowing to doing, from who you in our worst moments. This book really tackles your worst moments. Everybody listening right now has good days, and you're the best spouse in the world. I mean, you love well, you sacrifice well, you give of yourself in very powerful ways. And then we all have our dysregulated, discombobulated moments where we are none of that. Why can't we get back to being the person we want to be? There's the gap. This book helps you understand that gap, what it is, what's behind it, and how you change it. So that at the end of the day, you are a more loving partner, and your marriage, your usness, as we like to call it, gets fed and matures, and it grows, and it feeds the two partners in the relationship. So we're going to try to help you bridge that gap.
You also learn a lot about yourself. And you, the mirror kind of is up to your face. You learn about yourself, weaknesses and strengths, and what you bring to the relationship. Instead of pointing the finger and saying, well, I wish if he would only do, then I could do, and this would be, we'd be at peace. I think it really is a discipleship, and it's also a looking in the mirror at self and surrendering to who can give you the strength to help make the change so that it can bless your marriage. Truly. It's a great tool. It's a great tool.
Yeah. Yeah, and what you're saying there as well reminds me of the quote. I often say this at our Weekend to Remember getaway, where sometimes some of the things, and in fact a lot of the things we teach at our Weekend to Remember, might not be that profoundly complicated or difficult. In fact, some of it might be common knowledge. But my question to you is it common practice?
Right.
And it's how do we go from knowing what to do to actually applying that and putting it into practice? Not when I'm at my best, but when my buttons are being pushed.
There you go. And that's, everybody listening right now knows what you're talking about right there. When you get triggered, whatever word you want to use, dysregulated is the big neurological term that we would use in the book. But the everyday experience is, I just get mad, I get angry, I get anxious, I get upset, I don't feel loved, I don't feel cared for, I'm hurt. That's those moments where it's really super hard to put on our best, to be love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control in that moment. But there is a pathway to do that. You end up having to overcome your flesh, right? That's the biblical term. The neurological term would be the neural pathways in your brain that tell you to get angry, to overreact, to get defensive, to counter blame, whatever that little strategy is. And we help people, by the way, Nan said you're going to learn about yourself. You're going to learn your response set. You either do blame, shame, control, escape, or all four. And you're going to learn it. And you're going to see it in black and white, and you're going to go, oh my goodness, that's me. Now, what do I do about that? I mean, the invitation of the New Testament is clear. In Christ, because of his grace and through his blood and by his Spirit, that old flesh part of me that is selfish and angry and hurt and bitter and can be put away so I can put on the new self that is being matured in Christ. It's just the gap that is so difficult between the old self and the new. And what we're going to do is dig in deep and help people learn how to do it.
What I love after we get done speaking is, and I always ask the Lord, I'm like, just one person, Lord, just show me one person that, has been blessed by this. And after one conference, he actually gave us 3.
Yeah.
But he gave me one gentleman, big old linebacker, huge man that came up to me, and I thought, oh, is he angry? What's happening? And he said, I've got some stuff I need to work on. Thank you. And I was like,
come on,
oh, wow.
That's good.
And then another guy was like, I really have a lot of pain that needs healed. So thank you for helping me see that. And then the couple that was actually...
That was so fun.
Got dysregulated at the end of our conference in January.
They were getting up to go out to the car to be dismissed.
Right. It was after they'd we'd done the Lord's Supper with it, and there was worship, and they were getting ready to leave, and he did something, and she got dysregulated. They went out to the foyer, and they worked on it. They used the steps, and they came and waited in line and said, it worked. It really worked. And we were like, yay. And it's so neat to see how people are helped. And that's the goal. Yeah. I mean, a better self and a better usness in your marriage. That's the goal.
So I want to just quickly ask on that. Can you take a moment, Ron, and just regulation, regulated and dysregulated. Let's just quickly unpack those two terms.
Sure.
And then you mentioned the four, and then I'm going to ask Nan, share me your pattern, and then Ron, what do you tend to go to?
Yeah, so
that's a mouthful, but let's go.
Right. So let's just think of ourselves as individuals for a minute, and then we'll talk about the couple dynamic. Every person on the planet has what we call a pain cycle. And when you're driving down the road and the guy next to you cuts you off on the highway, or your child walks in and tells you something that scares you on behalf of your child, whether they're in harm's way or something's happening, or, I was talking to somebody the other day and their child made a decision and it really frightened the parent. Like, I think we all understand how fragile life is. And what it rises up inside of us in those moments is essentially pain. That's one. You can call it anxiety. You can call it depression. You can call it anger, hurt. There's lots of words, but they're all painful words, right? Well, when pain hits, your brain body goes into a very quick response, fight or flight. We've all heard this before. You go into fight or flight. And essentially the front of your brain is turned off, and the mid part of your brain comes on full force, and it's going into fight or flight, and that is meant to protect you from whatever the pain is that you feel. This is dysregulation. You are not calm. You are not comfortable. You are not at peace. You're dysregulated. At that moment in time, you will react out of that fight or flight in 4 expressions: blame, shame, control, or escape. 2 of those are fight. 2 of those are flight. The bottom line is you're trying to reestablish calm and security and comfort and make that danger threat thing go away. Now, here's the interesting thing about how our body reacts. If a rattlesnake, is the example I always use, we used to live in a place where
there's no snakes in New Zealand, by the way.
That's why we love it.
That's one of it. We lived in a place where we went on hikes and there were rattlesnakes. So if a rattlesnake crosses your path, you're going into fight or flight. You don't have to have a committee, have a conversation about what to do about that. Your midbrain knows exactly what to do, and you're going to escape. There it is, right?
We need to ask, so what would be something vicious? What?
Well, there's no natural predators in New Zealand.
So it would only be a vicious person that would be.
So we need to use
exactly.
That's why we love coming to your country.
Yes. Okay, so if a rattlesnake rises that up inside you, here's the interesting thing. So does your spouse.
Yeah.
When they're looking at their phone and you're asking them a question and you can't get their attention and you're going, you don't care about me. You don't care about this decision. You don't care about what I'm trying to say to you. And you feel slighted by your spouse. There's a word for that, by the way. It's called phubbing. Phone partner snubbing, phone, right?
Okay.
When that happens, you feel a threat to the usness of your relationship, to your security. You don't feel loved by that other person. And guess what? Your brain doesn't know the difference between that or a rattlesnake or somebody cutting you off on the interstate. And you will go into, with your spouse, fight or flight in the form of blame, shame, control, or escape. Every person has this reactivity in them when we're at our worst. Now, when my reactivity intersects with her reactivity, oh my, it is a tornado. That is our couple pain cycle, and it has a pattern to it, and every couple is different. We're going to help people understand their pain cycle. And then once we know what that is, we have to make decisions about how we're going to change it. And it comes back to me regulating me and her regulating her. That's in a nutshell what this process is. And it sounds kind of easy. But once you get inside it, it really has a lot to it.
And that dysregulation doesn't start in marriage. You kind of bring that in with you. And
Yeah.
we do talk about that in our conference through baggage. And, I just thought since I was leaving and cleaving, that baggage would just magically go away. But those ruts for me, when I'm triggered by things that Ron does, mirror things that have happened in my past, whether it's with family, past relationships, or past things. And so, and it can happen within a nanosecond. I think about that dysregulation and that fight or flight, those reactivities within ourselves, we bring into marriage. Whether it's a previous relationship or it's family of origin, those ruts are already there. And then they get compounded when you are in distress with your spouse. And so I think that's something that we need to realize is that comes in a nanosecond. And the ways we react, whether it's the four copes of blame, shame, control, or escape, I think we already had those within us. I know I did.
Yes, absolutely.
You mean our spouse didn't do this to us?
Yeah.
No. Although I do want to find out on Ron.
And Vaynant, that's really
That is
important.
So important.
Because most of us walk through our entire marriage life trying to figure out how to get the other person to be different, so I won't have to be angry, so I won't have to be escaping into whatever, so I won't have to, blame, shame, control, or escape. And it didn't work that way because it was already in you when you said I do.
But I thought I was fine until I got married.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
This
what
is
we all
what-
think.
That's what we all think.
That's what we think.
I have this thing. I thought marriage was going to bring out the best in me. Turns out it actually brought out some of the worst in me.
And the reason for that is because this is the person you love the most, have the most invested in, and are the most vulnerable to. They can hurt you. And honestly, if you're walking down the street and a stranger is staring at their phone, who cares? But if you can't get your spouse's attention because they're staring into a phone, you do care. You don't feel safe in that moment, in that relationship. And so it comes back to, am I loved? Am I safe? Is our usness solid and strong? And if there's question marks around any of those core questions, it dysregulates us.
Right.
And we want to try to do something about it to make it better. And of course, the reactivity makes it worse.
Yeah.
And then my dysregulation impacts her dysregulation, and we're really often running in all the wrong ways.
And it's
and
this
that
loop,
does
right?
that loop, that cycle does create more pain. So yes, you came in with some pain. How you react to pain, you walked into marriage with. Once you get there, the pain you give each other, it just adds to the sense of lack of safety that you have in the
I
relationship.
mean, we could be hand in hand, staring into each other's eyes, out on a nice, lovely evening, and one word can send us, or one look, or one not look, or one not word.
One tone, right?
You too?
And
Can
we're off-
dysregulate.
and we're off and running.
And everybody listening right now, I think knows exactly what we're talking about because they have experienced. This is the human experience. The question comes back to, what just happened? Why did we make that switch? And what now do we do about it? And that's where the rubber meets the road. And that's what this book is really, really helpful to do.
Yeah. So what do we do about it? Because I've been in those moments more times than I care to share. But I'm also happy to be real about it. But I'm not thinking rationally often. I'm thinking I need to win this, and I'm trying to convince, and then I realize, well, what's going on in Alray's mind to me doesn't seem rational either. And then until I realized, well, neither of us are actually probably being rational right now.
Reactivity is never rational.
Yeah.
So
how
what
do we
do
escape
about it?
that? How do we escape that?
So in a very simple way, I'll just articulate it this way. The first thing to do is a heart response. The second thing to do is a brain response. The first thing is my heart. I have to put on some humility about me what we want to do is say, if you weren't this way, I wouldn't be that way. Well, you know what? That's blame. And there's a whole lot of pride wrapped up. Hear the arrogance of that? Like, you have the ability to fix me, and you've got to get your life straight first. Yeah, Jesus talked about this in Matthew 7. That's sitting around looking at the specks in the other person's eye, not noticing you got a massive log hanging around in your eye. Like, what do you do first? Take the log out of. So humility demands that I be willing to stop and look at me. Now, that doesn't sound hard, Vaynant, until you get dysregulated, and that's the last thing you want to do. But that's exactly where you have to start. Once you go through this process that you'll learn in the book in our conference of knowing your pain cycle, it's easier to look in the mirror and go, oh, I know what this is. I know why I just snapped at you. I know why I did that. And yep, there it is. Because you're taking some time to examine that part of your flesh. So that's the heart, humility. Number 2 is going to be, I'm going to turn my brain back on. Literally, when you get dysregulated, the prefrontal lobe of your brain has kind of gone offline. It's not working anymore. You're not actually going, Lord, what is it that I should do? What does love and joy and gentleness look like right now? No, you are in reactivity mode, fight or flight. You're not thinking.
It's all about the flesh.
And so you've got to turn your brain back on. And so we teach this 4-step process where you talk through a process that helps you reactivate your mind so you can say, wait a minute. Who am I supposed to be right now? Who has the Lord invited me to be? This is the moment where Romans 12, you get transformed by the renewing of your mind. You let your mind tell your brain and your body how to react, not the other way around. In dysregulation, your brain and body is telling your mind how to react.
Yeah.
In your new self, it's the other way. You're letting what you know to be true, what God tells us, what he informs us, how he teaches us, all of that knowledge comes back online and you actually start doing something. Now notice, nowhere in this process have I changed Nan.
Yeah.
So far, I'm putting on humility about me and I am changing me.
Yeah.
And that's the game-changing dynamic for your usness.
Yeah, that's the key, right? And I don't think we need to give an example of how this goes wrong. I think that's a lot of people's experience. But give me an example and maybe even a time for you, Nan, when this went well.
Okay.
Like you were able to recognize the trigger and pause and have a different response.
Sure. So Ron and I were getting ready for our day. He was talking about a lunch that he was going to with some people. And in the past, like 20, 25 years ago, lunches meant more work for my husband. Lunches meant he would be inattentive. He would be driven. He would be out chasing all kinds of ministry opportunities. He'd come home and not be available to me emotionally. And it would mean more work for him for months on end. And I would be left. And that day he said, yes, I'm going to lunch with so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. And immediately my spirit went, like, oh no, I know what this is. And then Holy Spirit said, no, I gotcha. That's not yours to defend. And let's take a breath. And so I did some breathing at the counter. And I actually did a confrontation, I like to call them. I was kind and I said, you know what? I'm feeling a little triggered right now because, but I first went to the Lord and I asked, do I even bring this up or do I not? Because old Nan would have blamed, shamed, and controlled with lots of words already. Yeah. Those are my copes. And then I would have gone off and numbed the rest of the day just because I was mad at him for doing the lunch and what it would hurt me in my life. But no, I stopped and I said, do I even bring this up? Or do I just go on a walk with you, Lord, and you and I will handle this? Because my identity now is rooted in him, and he's going to be my defender, not me. And he said, let's take some breaths and calm down. Let's see what's going on in your body. And then it was like, I felt like he said, you can trust him in this. Let's talk about it. And we talked about it, and he was like, oh, I can see that. And then he said these beautiful words, I own that. I did that to you.
I owned that. I brought her pain.
And I was like,
during seasons of our life where I just basically emotionally abandoned her because I had ministry to do, which is so ironic.
and then I said, well, I know God will remind you who you are. And I'm going to let him remind me who I am. And then I didn't have to go into this lecture of, well, while you're at that lunch, you better not, you know what I mean? I didn't need to parent Ron.
Yeah.
God's going to parent him, and he's going to parent me. A totally different outcome. And I was at peace the rest of the day. I hope you were at peace the rest of the day.
And Vedant, here's the thing. Like a certain season of our life, that little trigger
World War III
would have been World War III for 2 weeks. And I don't know that we would have resolved it. We would have just finally given up on it and
Swept it up.
Exactly. But this process took 2.5 minutes and had a completely different outcome. Both of us had to pause. Once she started, I need to ask you, and she started talking about it, I started feeling dysregulated. It's like, oh no, she's mad, right? So now I'm feeling like, what did I do? Did I blow it? So I've got to do the same thing that she just did. Wait a minute, Ron, what's going on with you? Oh yeah, I know what this is. This is that insecurity thing coming out of you again. Just hold on, slow down. What do you do with this? What's the truth? And I remind myself the truth. God tells me I'm worthy and okay and valuable. And even if I did hurt her feelings, it's not the end of the world. I don't need to panic. I still need to just take ownership of that and not be afraid to own it. And in this case, I needed to own what happened in the past and how that hurt her. And I could totally see how that lingered still even today. See, that's what the brain does. The brain holds on to stuff it knows. It has a really hard time letting go of it, let alone forgiving it and moving beyond it. But Nan was managing that part of herself rather than expecting me to go, okay, I'll cancel lunch. Does that help? See, that would be me. She would be making me in charge of parenting her. We're not in favor of couples trying to parent each other. That doesn't create intimacy and trust and depth to your relationship. That creates a power dynamic that makes you both dependent on the other person. That is not a winning game. Her managing her, me managing me, and bringing the best of ourselves to that moment is a winning game.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's so good because, I don't know about you, but I didn't sign up to marry my mother.
You certainly don't want to have sex with your mother. That's for sure.
I love my mother, but
think about that dynamic. You don't want parenting one another. That is not inviting.
It actually reduces, like you say, it reduces the sex drive in your marriage when that dynamic is going on. And this is, I can imagine our listeners ask, this all sounds quite complicated. So I know that reading the book, you unpack it, and there's lots of stories, and help people understand it. But then also, it sounds like it has literally taken years to master the skill. But how do you just bring it down here for us in terms of simplicity and understanding, and just get us on the track to get started, and then we can grow like that? What's the first step?
Yeah. I think. I want to be honest with your listeners. I think anything you do well takes time, and it takes some practice, and it takes some work. And so this is not a quick fix. It's not a quick fix tool to use. You have to be intentional about it, but it truly is worth it. And then you can get to those moments where it's 2 minutes instead of 2 months. But it's so hopeful, and it's so brings life, and it's peaceful, and it's life-giving. And it's also a tool that you can use with your children, your adult children, co-workers, anyone that you get dysregulated with. And so I would say take the time to do the exercises, and then take the time as a couple to do the steps together and really walk them out. But I think it's work.
Yeah.
But it's not something that it's attainable. It's an attainable goal.
Yeah. What I would say is, discipleship is a lifelong process, and this is something you learn that, as Dan said, is universal to all your relationships and your walk with God.
Yes.
At the end of the day, I'm learning how to trust God a whole lot more than trusting in myself, which is what
Right.
we typically fall back to when we get dysregulated. And one other comment I'll make is the condition of your usness when you start into this material is going to sort of have a big impact on how much work it takes. It took us a lot of work because we were a mess. Other people are going, we're pretty happy with each other. This is going to help you go from good to great. I mean, and it won't be nearly as arduous as it is for somebody like us. But we just believe and have seen the changes that it's created for people. And so anything worth doing that's going to have a massive impact is not going to be a quick fix. It is going to take a little time and effort.
Yeah, that is good. Now, it took 20 years of being married to hit a place in your marriage where you really started applying this, and it might be because it took such a long time. That might be part of the reason why it's actually taken a long time to recover and practice. And it's like you don't recover in 1 year from something that's taken you 20 years to develop. How would you go back to your younger self, Ron, and say, there's something there?
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
I'm just going to add some context to that. Like, we've seen the material you create, invest into so many people, you're doing ministry, you seem to have a lot of answers and understand couple dynamics, yet here you were 20 years into your marriage, and I'm going to put this out because you share it in the book. Basically, the wheels come off. Ron's like, I want out. Let's go see a counselor.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing. I have grown convinced because of my own journey here in this space. Knowing is not doing. Everybody listening right now knows better than you act in terms of your spiritual walk. There's still that habit you haven't been able to break yet. The things that are the hardest for us to change are the things that are the deepest within us, embedded in our spirit, our flesh, our even the neural pathways of your brain at this point. The ruts are there, and the deeper the ruts, the harder it is to change that part of us.
Yeah.
And until you're willing to, in humility, say, I got to look deep, honestly, you will be a victim of those ruts the rest of your life. I'm telling you, not only has this opened my eyes to me, but it's opened my eyes to the marriage and family experts that I work with on a regular basis, who themselves become dysregulated on a daily basis and don't have any awareness or the personal discipline to address it. I think this is every person on the planet. This is the human condition, and it's what Jesus wants to redeem us from. It's just going to take some effort on our part. But the beautiful thing, as Nan said, the hopeful story here is that we're not left to ourselves. The Spirit is with us. The Spirit is teaching. Everything in the New Testament comes alive as soon as you become self-regulating. You can actually take what God has given us and you can start living it.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a victim
Yeah.
of your past.
Yeah. Nan, what would you say to that?
Well, to not just your past, but what's going to be coming your way. Because, we've had a loss, a deep, hard loss, the loss of our child in 2009. He was 12. And that, if I could go back and tell my younger self, I would say, trust in the Lord with all your heart. And lean not on your own understanding or your own circumstances or your own emotions or whatever's going to come your way. I really, truly believe there's just hard stuff in life. I can get sick today. Ron could get sick. We could lose another child. You could lose a job. You can, on and on. You have your people out there that have been through hard. Life is hard. This world is not our home, and it's not perfection yet.
Yeah.
And we aren't perfect. And
Yeah.
so that's why we need Jesus. And I
Yeah.
wish I would have clung to him more and not picked up that shield and that sword myself and tried to defend everything and tried to understand everything. I wish I would have surrendered every day like I'm trying to do now. But I am now. And I feel that peace that surpasses all understanding now. And no, it's not easy. I am 16 years into this journey without my son in front of me, and it's still the hardest thing I do every single day. And yes, it has affected our marriage and our family. And yet the Lord says, I need you to trust me. I need you to trust me until you are home. And that is it. We can't allow all of that stuff to just hinder us from doing what he's called us to do.
Yeah.
And finding out who we are in him.
Yeah.
But our flesh wants so much, and our mind just doesn't understand. And so then the battle rages on.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I mean, thank you for sharing that. And I mean, thank you for being brave and allowing your painful journey to bless others, because I think what sometimes happen is we toughen up, we sort of get ready to just walk through this pain, but that's no way to do life. We're like, soldiers on edge, ready for an explosion to go off, and we can maybe spend a season there, like as in going through a tough period. You need to be tough, but like that's not any place for us to live. And so my encouragement to our listeners today is, if you have felt like this for an extended period of time, or notice that one of you in the marriage has to walk on eggshells, or the other just loses it, or there's no peace in the house, just stop and take time and pause. This is one of the things that I think is practical, and we'll land our conversation here today, because and you refer to this in the book around slowing things down. It all happens so quickly. Before you know it, went from 0 to 100 in like a few seconds, and you can be having the best time. And like you said, one word takes you just down that edge. I love this quote by Viktor Frankl. And remember, this guy, under his watch, there were people in the concentration camps literally daily committing. They were suiciding on a daily basis, people in this harsh environment, because they had just no hope and nothing to live for. However, under his watch, and he came up with the theory around three things that gives us, purpose and community and a project to work on. And under his watch, nobody ended their own lives. And, those people came out of that environment of being, captive, and they lived to tell the story. What they made of their reality literally made a life and death difference. And so that gives context to this quote that I'm about to read, and maybe you've heard it before, but it says, between stimulus and response there is a space, and that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom.
Amen. We have agency.
Yeah.
Sometimes I totally feel encapsulated by my flesh that responds and reacts in so quickly. Things fly out of my mouth. I'm like, why did I just say? That feels sometimes impossible to manage. The truth is, I do have agency, and slowly, with time, as God matures me, and as I work at my self-control, the gap between stimulus and response gets smaller, and my ability to manage my response in all circumstances improves dramatically.
Yeah.
That's redemption.
That's
the kind of redemption we want. Not just my soul's going to be with Jesus someday, sure, but I'd also like to be a light every day of my life.
There's hope in that.
Yeah. And what your life testifies of is that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And we'll have that in this life. We'll have those moments of things that steal, kill, and destroy.
Yes.
But there's the but God moment. But God has come to give life and give it more abundantly. And that's not our ticket to heaven one day, but we can actually experience life more abundantly here and now. And so I want to just thank you and honor you for having worked through some of those tough stuff and now being at a space of not perfect, and I get that, but you're experiencing more life abundantly in spite of the pain that's happened, and you're being able to actually encourage others to experience the same. So looking forward to seeing you in person in September in New Zealand, and it's been such a pleasure talking to you. One final word as you head out, just an encouragement. Again, this encouragement would be to someone who's on that younger journey, and we'll end with that.
You won't have any regrets going down this road.
No.
You will not have any regrets. It may be a little bit of work, but if you're going to improve your golf game, you got to get out there and hit the balls, and you got to keep repeating over and over, and you got to practice. You got to practice. You got to practice. Same thing's true of relationships.
Yes.
It takes intentional effort to build muscle memory, in this case, brain memory, where you are living the fruit of the Spirit more often and in ways that are more complete. And when that happens, your usness gets stronger. Peace is the center of your relationship, and everybody thrives. You will never regret going down this road.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Bless you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can't wait to see you soon.